Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft hatch closure at the International Space Station and farewell remarks from the crew members about the International Space Station. We hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming event. If it's your first time here, hi, my name is Dipto Mitra. I'll be your friend and host providing insights and commentary for today's event at the Orbital Laboratory, and you're watching AstroYonder Live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
We are super excited to bring you the coverage of Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft hatch closure at the International Space Station and farewell remarks from the crew members. Hatch closing at the International Space Station is scheduled for approximately 2:25 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 18:25 hours UTC. All the upcoming streams for the Soyuz MS-26 return are posted on our channel, so don't forget to check them out. Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft undocking with the crew on board is scheduled for 5:57 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 21:57 hours UTC, and the spacecraft's deorbit burn is scheduled for 8:26 p.m. Eastern Daytime, which corresponds to 0:26 hours UTC, with the landing with the three crew members on board in Kazakhstan is scheduled for 9:20 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 1:20 hours UTC. Now, before moving to the details, firstly, on behalf of AstroYonder team and moderators, we express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for being part of today's event. It's not a launch. A big thanks to our amazing YouTube community for being here today as we provide detailed live coverage of space launches and events, complete with extensive stats and thorough insights. We really appreciate you being here. Just a heads up, like all other stream, it's me only managing the live coverages on my own. So if we hit any technical issues, hang tight. Nothing to worry about. I will do my best to walk you through the upcoming event happening in approximately, let me see, 15 minutes from now. We would love it if you guys hop into the chat or the comment section and let us know from where you are tuning in. Feel free to drop any questions, suggestions, or share your thoughts as we move ahead. We would love to hear from you and get to know more about you. Now, before moving on, would like to welcome Pop Tripika. Yes, this is a bittersweet moment. We will be having Don back on Earth. We'll be missing his, as you said in previous stream, his spectacular images and the science he is performing there. I hope, Aptripika, you are doing fine, and thanks for tuning in once again. Also, I hope everything is doing fine at your home. So now let's get back into today's event. So yesterday on Friday, April 18th, we had a change of command. It was when Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexey Ovchinin officially handed over the station command to the JAXA astronaut Takua Onishi, marking the start of Expedition 73, which will officially kick off later today when Soyuz MS-26 undocks from the Razvet module of the International Space Station. Now, the Razvet means the first light, dawn, or sunrise in the Russian. It's just for those who don't know about Russian language. I also don't know, but just found it to say you guys. The Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft launched and docked to the International Station Prashal module on September 11, 2024, with a crew of 3 to low Earth orbit with an inclination of 51.66 degrees, which is a common angle for missions to the International Space Station due to its optimal ground coverage and accessibility. Now let's talk about the crew. Today we'll be heading back to Earth. Alexey Ovchinin, the previous commander leading the Expedition 72. Ovchinin made his first spaceflight in 2016. Please excuse me. He made his first spaceflight in 2016 on Soyuz TMA-20M, where he also served as a commander for the launch to join the ISS as part of Expedition 47-48. Later on, he had a quite a rare experience while he was aboard the Soyuz for the International Space Station, heading to the International Space Station to take part in Expedition 57. On 11 October 2018, Ovchinin and Nick Hague, who was the part of previous Crew 9, boarded Soyuz MS-10 on the way to International Space Station to join Expedition 57, but the launch was aborted mid-flight due to a booster failure. The crew landed safely, so that's a piece, after a ballistic descent. During his MS-10 flight, the Soyuz spacecraft aborted at an altitude of around 50 kilometers and reached an apogee of 93 kilometers before landing 19 minutes and 41 seconds after the launch. Later on, Ovchinin launched to the ISS back again on 14 March 2019, traveling on Soyuz MS-12 with American astronauts Nick Hague and Christina Koch. Later on, Ovchinin took command of the station for Expedition 60, a first for him as an ISS commander. Currently, he is a part of Expedition 71 and 72, where he served the role of commander for the second time from March 7 of this year, 2025, to April 18, 2025, just yesterday. His recent stay aboard the station, a part of Expedition 71 and 72, spanning 220 days in space, and at the time of his departure, he will be having a career total of 595 days in space and having EVA time of 13 hours and 18 minutes with a total of 2 extravehicular activities, or the EVAs. Now, Ivan Vagner, his maiden spaceflight was in April 2020 as a flight engineer on Soyuz MS-16 mission and Expedition 62 and 63. Later on, Wagner was assigned to a as a Russian flight engineer aboard the Soyuz MS-16, scheduled to launch in April 2020. However, in February 2020, Babkin and the spacecraft commander Nikolai Tikhonov were removed from the flight due to a temporary health condition, with Tikhonov subsequently replaced by Wagner and Anatoly Ivanishin. I'm sorry, it's hard to pronounce these Russian names, who was Tikhonov's backup, were moved forward onto the prime crew. During Expedition 62, Following the arrival of Soyuz MS-16, the Expedition 63 crew welcomed the SpaceX Crew Dragon Demo 2 mission for a stay on board the station on 31 May 2020. This flight marked the first crewed test flight of SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft and the first crewed orbital spacecraft to launch from US soil since the STS-135, the final flight for the Space Shuttle program back in 2011. The mission was crewed by the NASA astronaut Doug Hurley and Robert Bob Bacon. We know those recovery vessels are named after them, those SpaceX recovery vessels, Doug and Bob. And Wagner was previously trained as a backup crew of Soyuz MS-25 Commander, but in 2022, Wagner was awarded with the title Hero of Russian Federation as well. His current stay aboard the station, a part of Expedition 71 and 72, again spanning for 220 days in space, and at the time of the departure, he will be having a career total of 416 days in space and having EVA time of 7 hours and 17 minutes with one EVA performed. Now it's the time for Don Pettit. Now, before that, would like to have a look at the chat over here. Well, Pop Paprika, thanks. And yes, fun fact, you mentioned it when I used to post this question in the poll that what's the meaning of Soyuz in Russian. But thanks to you also that you posted that on the chat. And I hope I could provide value to your viewing experience providing these details, and I will be saying them in more details in the upcoming stream. Now we are having a short time, just 7 minutes from now the stream will begin, so let me just quickly wrap up with the things to say. So among the trio, NASA astronaut Don Pettit is the most experienced, also aged 69 years. He is the NASA's oldest active astronaut. He will be turning 70 on the day of landing. That's an interesting day to celebrate a birthday in a nice way. Really, I wish I could do so. Now, Pettit is best known for his orbital astrophotography. You can see and check his work on his X handle. He took some spectacular photography during his stay this time for the Expedition 71 and 72. Also, he did perform many science experiments. About that, you can learn on the station blog. I think it's there posted in the description of the stream. So please do check it out, and because those are really interesting, and you will understand that why he is so much renowned. And also, he is known for his in-space inventions such as the Zero-G coffee cup, which received the first ever patent of an object invented in space. He also enjoys conducting scientific demonstration in microgravity, often referred to as Saturday morning science. Lightning bugs, a viral star drill taken by Pettit back in 2012. You can check that picture online, and he is an astrophotographer. Pettit captured thousands of unique star drill and photographic data sets, which he regularly shares online. So one titled was the lightning bug, which went viral on the internet. Now, Pettit's first mission was a mission specialist on STS-113 and an Expedition 6 flight engineer, and also serving as the role of NASA science officer aboard the International Space Station in 2002 and 2003. During his 6-month stay aboard the space station, he performed 2 EVAs to help install the external scientific equipments aboard the International Space Station. The Expedition 6 mission was extended by about 2 months following loss of Space Shuttle Columbia in February 2003 and the subsequent grounding of the shuttle fleet. Instead of returning on a shuttle, the crew returned in a Soyuz capsule, the first time American astronauts had launched on Space Shuttle and landed in a Soyuz. Pettit was a mission specialist back in his second space flight aboard the space station Endeavour on the STS-126 mission to deliver equipments and supplies to the International Space Station, where he performed experiments on board the International Space Station related to the clamping of solid particles in microgravity, apart from his designated daily task of the mission. And on his third space flight, again launched to the ISS on December 21, 2011 as part of Expedition 3031 crew. There he flew with the crew member Oleg Kononenko and Andrei Kuiper, who arrived at the International Space Station on December 23 of 2011. And during that time, on May 25, 2012, Pettit and Kuiper operated the Canadarm2 to grapple the first SpaceX Dragon 1 and berth it to the Harmony module of the International Space Station. And that marked the first time a private spacecraft had ever rendezvoused with the International Space Station. The Dragon capsule was carrying supplies for the ISS, and the successful capture demonstrated the feasibility of the using privately developed spacecraft to resupply the station. Upcoming, we are having a 30-second resupply services mission launch. And during the capture, he was quoted saying, "Houston station, we got us a dragon by the tail." So that was a nice way to say that. Now on his fourth flight, which is about to conclude, and the time during the time of his departure as a part of Expedition 71 and 72, he will be having a career total of 590 days in space, a less of about 5 days compared to Ovchinin, and having EVA time of 13 hours and 17 minutes with a total of 2 EVAs. Now, I guess we are just left for 1 minute away from webcast to begin. Now, Expedition 72 began on 23rd September with crew members Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexey Ovchinin, Ivan Vagner, along with NASA astronaut Don Pettit from Soyuz MS-26, joined later by Nick Hague and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov from SpaceX Crew 9 in September 2024. After the return of Crew 9, SpaceX Crew 10 launched on March 14, 2025 and docked with the International Space Station on March 16th at 12:04 a.m. Eastern Time, followed by the recent launch of Soyuz MS-27 on April 8, 2025, which docked to the Prashal module of the International Space Station at 4:57 a.m. Eastern Time. And now finally, on your screen is the crew members for the Expedition 73, which will begin at the time of Soyuz MS-26 undocking scheduled for today. But as of now, on April 19, currently aboard the International Space Station, there are 10 crew members from 3 human spaceflight missions: Soyuz MS-26, SpaceX Crew 10, and Soyuz MS-27. I guess it's time for the webcast to begin, so let's move on to the webcast page and let me set it up for you guys. Adding value to your viewing experience here at AstroYonder is our top priority. If you feel we somewhat achieved that, please consider liking this video or the stream. It really helps YouTube's algorithm bring in more space fans and enthusiasts like you and helps others to find out the stream. Also consider subscribing to our channel.
4:57 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:57 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. That will begin the ride home for Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner, wrapping up their mission with their deorbit and landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan to the southeast of the remote town of Zhezkazgan, about a 91-minute or 91-mile separation between Zhezkazgan, the forward staging point for today's landing operations, and the landing site in the remote area of Kazakhstan. The landing is scheduled just after sunrise, Kazakhstan time, on Sunday, April 20th, Easter Sunday. That will be Don Pettit's 70th birthday.
So right now we are getting this amazing view of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft being docked with the International Space Station, and on the backdrop you can see our beautiful Earth. And it's really saddening that it will be leaving the space station.
No, we don't need to.
As mentioned a moment ago, Don Pettit, the NASA astronaut who is wrapping up his 4th flight into space, Alexey Ovchinin also completing his 4th flight into space, and Ivan Vagner wrapping up his 2nd flight into space. You're looking at the hatchway between the Roscosmos module and the Soyuz MS-26. A short time from now, the crew members will gather in that small passageway. They will say goodbye to one another. The returning crew, that trio, will float aboard the Soyuz vehicle. The Roscosmos hatch will be closed first, followed a few minutes later by the Soyuz hatch, and that will begin the final preparations as the crew that is coming back to Earth this evening will don their Russian Sokol launch and entry suits and begin the final procedures before the undocking later this afternoon. That undocking command to open up the hooks holding the Soyuz to the Roscosmos module is scheduled about 3 hours and 52 minutes from now. Once again, the statistics associated with today's homecoming for Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner. They will be wrapping up a mission of 220 days in duration, 3,520 orbits of the Earth, a 93.3 million mile mission. This view from an external camera on the International Space Station as the station flies 260 miles over the South Atlantic. On the right side, that is the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft. That is the ride home for Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner later today. To its left is the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft attached to the Prishal module, also on the Earth-facing side of the station. That was the vehicle that 11 days ago brought NASA's Johnny Kim and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexey Zabritsky to the station for the start of their 8 months on board the International Outpost. With the completion of the mission today, Don Pettit again will have logged 220 days in space on this flight and a total of 590 days in space on his 4 missions. Alexey Ovchinin just a bit ahead of Pettit on the all-time endurance list. With his 220 days in space on this, his fourth flight, will have totaled 595 days in space. And Ivan Vagner will have logged, of course, 220 days in space on this flight and 416 days in space on his two missions to the International Space Station.
Well, just a reminder, the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft hatch closure is scheduled for 2:25 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 18:25 hours UTC, and the spacecraft undocking is scheduled for 5:57 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 21:57 hours UTC. Followed by that, MS-26 spacecraft will undergo the re-entry and a deorbit burn, which is scheduled for 8:26 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 0:26 hours UTC, and the landing with the three crew members on board in Kazakhstan is scheduled for 9:20 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 1:20 hours UTC. And after the crew will be making their successful landing, which will be on Don Pettit's 70th birthday, they will be returning to the Earth, and then the three crew members will fly on a helicopter back from the landing site to the recovery staging city of Karaganda, Kazakhstan, where while Pettit will board an NASA plane and return to the Houston, while Ovchinin and Vagner will depart for a training base in Star City, Russia.
Selects his own call sign. In this case, the call sign for Soyuz MS-26 and Ovchinin and his crewmates is Burlock.
0147J. I wrote it down.
Well, Pop Replica, if this is crazy for you 500 days in space, then think about Oleg Konyanko. He is having 1,100 and more than that, 1,100. I'm not remembering the exact figure, but he crossed 1,100 days in space. And the most closest as of now to that figure of space, that time spent in space, is I think Peggy Whitson. She is having 600 something, about 600 and something days in space.
Soyuz 2.1A booster from launch site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan back on September 11th, 2024. As is typical, the booster lit up its engines, the turbo pumps came up to flight speed, the hold-down posts were released, and the Soyuz booster and the three crew members atop the third stage of that Soyuz vehicle began their climb to orbit, arcing out to the northeast from Baikonur for an 8-minute, 46-second journey to their preliminary orbit. They arrived at the space station about 3 hours and 15 minutes after launch on a two-orbit venture that began their stay aboard the International Space Station that will be coming to an end a short time from now. Again, a good look here at the Soyuz MS-26 attached to the Roscosmos module, which is also known as MRM-1, the mini research module number 1 that is attached to the Earth-facing port of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. The station is currently flying into an orbital sunset south of Africa, so we will be losing a good view of that Soyuz vehicle for the next several minutes until the International Space Station emerges back into an orbital sunrise.
Really, that's an amazing view of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft being docked with the sunset back there, giving an amazing view of that horizon and the atmosphere of the Earth. Now, let me just give you a rough idea that what the crew members are, how the crew member prepares for an undocking. Before undocking, the Soyuz crew completes various pre-departure tasks. The crew ensures all systems on board the Soyuz are functioning correctly, including life support, navigation, and communication systems. This check also include inspecting the docking system and seals for any abnormalities.
Port in an Antonov 24 fixed-wing aircraft, as well as in Russian Mi-8 helicopters over the course of the next couple of hours to make their way to the landing site. The Antonov will make a stopover in Zhezkazgan, where there are also helicopters that are waiting to bring some of the prime recovery team members to the landing site to pick up Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner. Their landing is scheduled just 56 minutes after sunrise on Sunday morning in Kazakhstan. A total of 3 fixed-wing aircraft, 8 helicopters, and 6 all-terrain vehicles are in play for this evening's landing operations. Two of the 8 Mi-8 helicopters are already positioned to the southwest at the Kraini Airport, which is near the Baikonur Cosmodrome, the launch site for Soyuz operations. Those Mi-8 helicopters would be in play in the unlikely event of a ballistic entry. That would be a steeper than expected entry because of an equipment problem that would bring the Soyuz to a landing some 400 kilometers or so short of their intended landing target later this evening. Although that is not expected to take place, they are always there as a precaution in the unlikely event they are needed to recover the crew.
That's about the recovery of the crew with the various helicopters and planes that will be present in Kazakhstan at the landing site there. So I got interrupted by this information they were sharing. It was important, so I just stopped and hold it myself to say about the crew preparation, which I was discussing that time. So once again, let me repeat, the crew ensures all systems on board the Soyuz are functioning correctly, including the life support, navigation, and communication system. Upon checking and inspecting the docking system and the seals for any abnormalities, the crew members don their so-called space suits, which are essential for protection in case of cabin depressurization during the re-entry. They also check seat belts and helmet connections. Once again, this is the view of the change of command which took place yesterday. So let's hear a little bit of that.
Такую Аниши. Хочу сказать несколько слов. Во-первых, хочу поблагодарить наш экипаж. Большое вам всем спасибо. Мы вместе работали, вместе отдыхали. У нас все было хорошо. Также хочу сказать большое спасибо всем людям, преподавателям, инструкторам, которые готовили нас к космическому полету, которые поддерживали нас, сопровождали во время космического.
Well, now Ovchinin is greeting people things and saying things in Russian, but just a factor and a reminder that previously Ovchinin and Onishi did had a space flight together, which about that I think Onishi will be saying as he said it yesterday. And you can check this stream, it's posted on our channel if you want to see the change of command ceremony.
На протяжении всего полета. I want to say big thank you, my crew. We walk together, we relax together. Also, I want to say big thank you all people, instructors who prepared us, who supported us during our flight. Big thank you all MCCs, MCC Houston, Munich, Tsukuba, Huntsville, Moscow. Thank you very much for your help, for your support. And also a big thank you our families, our children. Their support help us during all our flight. Time to change command.
Well, Ovchinin is not a very good
This is a key from ISS. Now it's your key.
speech-giving person, but well, he did manage to say good few lines in English.
Take care, our station. It's our everything.
Спасибо, Алексей. Я принимаю командование МКС. Вы продемонстрировали отличное лидерство. Спасибо за это. И помощь, и дружбу. Желаю вам мягкой посадки. Thank you very much, Alexey. It's a great honor for me to accept the command of the ISS, and I feel so special that I am taking over the command from you. It's because it's been almost 9 years since we met here in 2016 during Expedition 48. At that time, both of us were rookies, and here we are, two veterans who are ISS commanders. Human spaceflight is not easy. Only continuous dedication from generation to generation made it possible for human beings to get here. And now today we have 4 rookies, and I'm sure one day they will come back and become commanders. It's just like the passing the torch. And I believe that's how we will continue to develop human spaceflight. And now I'd like to say a couple of words in Japanese. 日本の皆さん応援本当にありがとうございます。本日2025年4月18日に国際宇宙ステーションの指揮権を継承し
Well, Takuya Onishi is a Japanese astronaut for JAXA who got selected back in 2009. He spent 4 months on board the International Space Station back in 2016, as you just heard. In March 2025, he arrived at the International Space Station on SpaceX Crew 10 mission as part of Expedition 72 and 73. Currently on his second mission aboard the orbital outpost. Well, let's hear him. He will be again talking in English.
Ivan and Don, thank you so much for accepting us so kindly when we arrived here. You guys have been showing us the ropes since then, and we had such a great time with you guys. It's been such a privilege for us to work with you, so we will miss you. We have a lot of exciting work ahead of us, so we will continue to do our best just like you guys did. And I hope we can see each other again on the ground. We wish you a safe and soft landing.
So, currently Onishi on his second mission, now being the ISS commander, leading for the Expedition 73 mission about the orbital outpost. His cumulative time in space stands at 150 days and counting as of now. And previously, a Japanese national has commanded the station twice, with the third being Takuya Onishi as the now ISS commander for Expedition 73 from April 18, 2025. Well, another interesting fact is there about Onishi that he was an aquanaut as well for the Project Nemo of NASA.
Where Alexey Ovchinin, the Roscosmos and Soyuz commander for today's departure of the Soyuz MS-26, handed over the keys of the kingdom to Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Takuya Onishi, who now will be the commander of the station until his departure later this year. Again, the demarcation point of expeditions is marked between Soyuz undocking and Soyuz undocking. So Expedition 72 will come to a close, and Expedition 73 will begin about 3 hours and 37 minutes from now. Expedition 73, from left to right, Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov, NASA's Johnny Kim, NASA's Nicole Ayers, Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Ryzhikov, NASA's Anne McClain, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexey Zubritsky, and on the right is the new commander of the station, Takoya Onishi.
Like, welcome Stewart, Duncan Stewart joining us. Well, that's the right answer for the question posted on poll. That was, I think, the first manned mission for Soyuz. That, of course, the date is which you mentioned is absolutely correct. April 23rd, back in 1967, and it was a single test pilot where Vladimir Komarov was unfortunately killed when the descent module's parachute failed to unfurl after the re-entry of the module crashed, and the module crashed. So you said it right, brother.
Of the next set of ISS rollout,
And would like to thank Duncan for joining us.
Power supply on board the International Outpost. McClain and Ayers will also be moving a communications antenna to better improve and enhance communications for future visiting vehicles to the International Outpost. We will be conducting a briefing to preview that spacewalk this coming Thursday on NASA website.
Well, of course, Duncan Onishi is a really talented man, and he will be giving his best during his stay and commanding the Expedition 73. Oh, and well, he is right now in space, and so it itself speaks that he is a genius.
Balcony camera overlooking the Russian Mission Control Center on the outskirts of Moscow. Those flight controllers, again, in charge of all of the operations concerning the Soyuz vehicle itself. We should be getting shortly.
Well, there is still time for the farewell remarks from the crew. So meanwhile, let me complete what I was saying that about the crew preparation for the undocking, which you can say the pre-departure task which they undergo. So I just said about the checklist and the system review about that, and the suits and the safety gear, where the crew members will don their so-called spacesuit, which are essential for protection in case of cabin depressurization during re-entry. They will also check the seat belts and the helmet connections. Any cargo or experiments returning to Earth are loaded into the Soyuz. Additionally, the sensitive scientific data and personal items are secured. Then we will have the farewell and the hatch closure. Then the departing crew will bid their goodbyes to the remaining ISS crew, then entering the Soyuz spacecraft. The hatches between the ISS and the Soyuz will come to be closed, and pressure integrity checks will be performed to ensure no air leakage between the two modules. After that, we will be having the undocking procedure, where about 1 to 2 hours before undocking, the Soyuz switches to autonomous control mode using its internal system for navigation and maneuvering. And command for the undocking will be sent either by the mission control located in Moscow for the Russian segment, and even or else the Soyuz spacecraft itself can also initiate the command if it's under full autonomous control. And this command for the undocking will be initiated at a designated time. Upon that, we will be heading to the next section where the first critical mechanical step in the release of the hooks and latches that keep the Soyuz firmly attached to the ISS. There, these are motorized latches that disengage gradually to ensure the smooth separation. Soyuz is equipped with a docking probe that extends to meet the ISS docking port during attachment. At undocking, this probe retracts, pulling the Soyuz slightly away from the station. Once the mechanical latches are released, the spring-loaded pushers mounted on the docking interface gently push the Soyuz away from the ISS. This creates a slow drift of about zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2 meters per second, ensuring that the spacecraft begins to move away without causing any disturbances. Although the undocking is typically autonomous, the Soyuz commander can manually control the spacecraft if necessary, using a hand controller to guide the craft's orientation and speed. After initial separation, the Soyuz enters a brief period of station keeping at a safe distance, typically around 20 to 30 meters from the International Space Station, and this pause allows controllers to verify that the spacecraft is functioning correctly and on a proper trajectory. During this time, Soyuz system confirms that all parameters are nominal and any required adjustments are made. After station keeping, the Soyuz performed the separation burn to increase the distance from the International Space Station. The small thrusters on board the spacecraft fire for a short time, usually lasting around 15 seconds to 30 seconds, to push the spacecraft further away at a faster speed. The Soyuz increases its velocity to ensure it safely moves away from the International Space Station without recontact, and this burn typically results in the Soyuz traveling about zero point 0.5 meters per second faster relative to the International Space Station. So that's a point we should be considering. And later, the deorbit burn. Several hours after the undocking, Soyuz reaches a point in its orbit where it is positioned to perform the deorbit burn, the critical maneuver that slows the spacecraft enough to begin its descent towards Earth. And this burn usually happens about half an orbit before re-entry over a specific location to ensure it lands at the designated recovery site. For this one, and like mostly you can say, they are having the landing site at Kazakhstan only. Now the Soyuz uses its main engine to execute the burn, which lasts around 4 to 5 minutes. The spacecraft there must reduce its velocity by approximately 115 meters per second to begin descending from orbit. Then comes the module separation. As Soyuz approaches the Earth's atmosphere, it undergoes a crucial process of separating its three modules. Well, I guess I have that for you guys. On a corner of the on your screen, left hand side, you can see the Soyuz spacecraft, but it's a small image, so if you guys can zoom in, because I don't want to interrupt you with a view from in the background, because all of a sudden we will be having the farewell remarks from the crew members. So if you can zoom this, you can see a little bit of details. So I was talking about the module separation. So for that we need to head towards this one, this slide, this picture you can say. Here you can see the orbital module. The orbital module, the uppermost part of the Soyuz, which contains extra living space and cargo, and this module is jettisoned once the deorbit burn is complete. The service module containing the propulsion and power system is also jettisoned during the re-entry. Only the descent module with the crew inside, which is the middle section of the Soyuz spacecraft, continues through re-entry. These modules are separated using explosive poles, which ensures a clean and safe detachment. And that middle section, which is the descent module, it has a heat shield, and that will come into an activation as the Soyuz enters the Earth's atmosphere, where it encounters intense friction. It is similar to that we see in case of SpaceX Dragon, and the plasma will build around the spacecraft, causing a little moment of disruption of communication between the spacecraft and the mission control team here at the Moscow. And this causes the external temperature to rise dramatically because of the intense friction of the Earth's atmosphere. The descent module's abilitive heat shield protects the crew from the extreme heat, reaching temperatures of up to 1600 degrees. As I said, during re-entry, Soyuz experiences a brief communication blackout due to the ionized gases forming around the capsule as it descends through the atmosphere. And lastly, we have the parachute deployment, and finally the soft touchdown. Which about soft touchdown, I must be saying something that before the touchdown, about 1 meters above the ground, the Soyuz soft landing engines fire to further slow the capsule descent, and this provides a relatively cushioned landing for the crew, through though it can still be quite jarring. That only the crew can experience and tell about that. And upon the safe landing, the crew extraction process or the recovery process starts. About that, there is nothing much to say, but they will be extracted from the capsule and initial medical checks will be performed. Upon that, they will be transporting to the staging area. The crew will be flown to a staging area, usually in Karaganda in Kazakhstan, where further post-flight medical evaluations and debriefings will take place. So that's all the summary of the total procedure from starting from the hatch closure to the landing. I hope I could make you understand in a rough way of speaking. Well, during the stream of the landing, we will have enough time and I will be getting into the technical details of this whole procedure. Right now, this much I think is enough. Meanwhile, let me have a look at the chat. I talked so much about it.
If you've just joined us, the International Space Station about to see the transition of one expedition to another. Expedition 72 just hours away from coming to a close at the point of physical separation of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft from the Rassvet module, at which point Expedition 73 will begin its formal tenure.
So for now, and start closing the hatches. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Costa. We took one more time for the roads to sit down, and so we're getting ready. Okay, copy. We're eager to see you on screen. Give us a couple of minutes. Sounds good.
So we will be having the view from the International Space Station close to the hatch of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft, where the crew will be getting together and bidding final goodbyes to each other.
It's a passageway between Rassvet and the hatchway to Soyuz, where the crew members will gather briefly to say farewell to one another.
Go ahead and space to ground one. Konstantin, well, I want to say goodbye. I want to say thank you very much. We're going to see and hear you on the ground now. Alexey, I didn't recognize you. Well, I will see you again on the ground. You'll be rich. And we're going to look forward to seeing you on the ground. Have a soft landing. Okay. So do I understand correctly that we close the hatch first and Sergey will be closing hatch on their side next? No, incorrect. Sergey is the first to close the hatch on his side, and then you will be closing the hatch. You have hatch closure at 50 minutes. Okay, copy. Thank you for the clarification. Copy.
So there you heard firsthand the procedures that are about to unfold.
See you.
Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner will say farewell to the other 7 crew members on board the International Space Station to complete this 11-day handover between Soyuz crews.
See you soon.
Sergei Ryzhikov, the recently arrived Roscosmos cosmonaut who flew to the station on Soyuz MS-27, along with Johnny Kim and Alexey Zabritsky, will be closing the hatch on the station side of the docking interface between Rosviet and Soyuz, after which the Soyuz hatch will be closed with Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner inside the returning vehicle, MS-26.
Meanwhile, we will be getting the views from the International Space Station. As I was saying, let me address Duncan on the chat here. Well, thanks for posting that about the ISS stats. So here we go. We have the view from the International Space Station. The hatch for the MS-26 spacecraft is open now and soon will be closed. So let's hear what they are saying there.
A quick view of Ivan Vagner. Once the 3 returning crew members are aboard Soyuz with the hatches closed, there'll be a leak check period to make sure that we have an airtight seal at that docking interface. That will be the precursor to the small vestibule between Rosviet and Soyuz being depressurized in advance of the command to begin opening up the hooks holding Soyuz and Rosviet in place. You see Don Pettit joining Vagner and Ovchinin, all 3 in those blue undergarments.
There we have the crew for the MS-26 posing some pictures finally before leaving the station. I hope they took this picture earlier when they were getting docked to the space station so that I could manage a good thumbnail for the event.
And Vagner to follow. Real Peskov in the white shirt. If that space appears to be tight, it sure is. There's barely enough room for all the crew members to fit in at any given time. Takoya Onishi of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, the new station commander, saying farewell to the departing crew members. And Anne McLean.
So that's the ISS commander for Expedition 73, Takuya Onishi.
And Nicole Ayers.
I think this is Kirill Peskov. Oh no, it's Johnny Kim.
Kim saying farewell to the crew that he and Zabritsky and Ryzhikov just finished a handover with. Kim and his two Roscosmos crewmates launching back on April 8th from Baikonur on the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft.
I wish they would have provided us with an audio feed from there, which we are not getting.
And with that, the Soyuz MS-26 crew moving into their spacecraft. The International Space Station just flying to the northeast of Manila.
I think Sergei Ryzhikov will be closing the hatch for the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft from the International Space Station side.
Perform leak checks on those suits. And will also depressurize the upper section of the three-section Soyuz vehicle called the orbital module. Ryzhikov is wiping down the circumference of the hatchway to make sure there's no foreign object debris that would impinge on a good leak check to form an airtight seal at that docking interface.
Well done, Ken. That's quite an innovative idea which you are having, and I must say you can post that to or say that to the Russian people so that if they can implement it, I think there will be some way to give some suggestions to them. If there it is, I think you should be posting that. And yep, I think you know things a little bit about the Soyuz landing and the whole procedure. That's nice to know.
Спасибо, Сереж. По Москве, как нас слышно.
Lucky Moscow. How copy? Moscow. Lucky.
Слышно хорошо нас?
Alexey Nikolaevich, how do you read me? I have it loud and clear.
And with a final wave from Ryzhikov, the hatch to the Rosviet module now being closed and latched in place.
Equipment to the station. Is that complete? Yes, this is complete.
We'll be standing by for word from the other side of the hatch that the Soyuz hatch has been closed
the, storage locations
to start the process of conducting leak checks at both sides of that docking interface.
It is panel 408 in MRAM 1. It will be there after hatch closure.
We had the hatch closure for the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft, and I hope you guys saw that key with which hatch got closed. The replica of that only is being handed over during the change of command ceremony from the outgoing ISS commander to the new commander for the next expedition.
Go ahead on Space One.
Вань, еще раз, то есть БВН, БЛП... Закрыли КВД. Все перенесли на станцию. Сереж, отвечаю в взгляде.
Go ahead, Sergey, on Space Ground 1.
Transferred to the station Yes, please ask.
Can we start the broadcast, or should we leave it as is?
He'll tell you where
We're waiting for your hedge closure report.
Copy.
Do you confirm?
Ivan, please check if S4 and S6
MRM1
eliminated.
Hedge is closed. Excavator is in electrical control.
We are on page 29.
Excavator is in electrical control. I confirm. Okay, copy. Thank you. You can turn off and remove the camera, and you can Kyle 153 camera.
S4 is not eliminated. S6 is
Copy.
not eliminated.
Copy.
Good copy.
Executing.
The pressure equalization valve is
Copy. Talk
closed.
to you later.
We're switching to page 32. Copy, Moscow. This is Bulaki 1. I'm ready to close the orbital module docking port hatch cover. Yes, your go for manual hatch cover closure. Copy, closing it now.
Once again, if you've just joined us, you're looking there at a view from the station's external cameras
please make sure
of the
that
Soyuz
you
MS-26
are
spacecraft
broadcasting
attached
your
to the
actions
Roscosmos module on the Earth-facing
actions
side of the Russian
rest of
segment
speech.
of the International Space Station that is currently flying directly over Tokyo. Aboard the descent module, the center section of the three-section Soyuz, are NASA's Don Pettit, Alexey Ovchinin of Roscosmos, and their Roscosmos crewmate Ivan Vagner, having just said farewell to the other members of the station a few moments ago. The hatch on the Roscosmos module has now been closed. We're standing by for word that the Soyuz hatch will have been closed.
Now,
the Soyuz hatch is closed. The crew will begin the process of conducting leak checks and will begin to don their Russian Sokol launch and entry suits, performing leak checks on both sides of the docking interface to make sure we have an airtight seal before the vestibule between Roscosmos and the Soyuz is depressurized. That will set the stage for the undocking of Soyuz. The physical separation scheduled at 4:57 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time.
This is Burlaki 1. Below orbital module docking port hatch is closed. Copy. BSU hatch closed, and we're now on page 33.
so that's a call out we were waiting for the official confirmation of the hatch closure. And now the following procedures will be carried out for the undocking procedure coming up. And just a reminder, the undocking stream is as posted on our stream, as well as the re-entry and the landing. So don't forget to check it out.
Dash 7 command. 21, 48, 56. This is the time when I issued the Dash 7 command. A copy.
Так, выдаем Семен-15.
Send in S15 command. Command sent at 21:49.
You're looking now at a view here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, Mission Control in Houston at the Johnson Space Center. Flight Control team that's on console right now, soon to begin a handover. The flight director who will be on console during undocking and landing later this evening is Marcos Flores at the bottom of your screen. To his right is Flight Director Heidi Brewer.
Indication is eliminated. Send in the 8 command. The 8 command send. S11 is not eliminated. The transfer hatch indication is not eliminated. Send in S16 command. S16 command.
Right now you are hearing the commands, the interaction between the mission control team here at the Moscow, contacting and having the communication with the MS-26 crew member who are right now in the spacecraft after a successful hatch closure. This now they will be preparing for the undocking, and these commands and these technical jargons which they are talking about, which at least I don't understand, is for the undocking procedures they are carrying out. And right now it's, you can say, almost 1 to 2 hours before the undocking, so it means that the Soyuz is already switched to the autonomous control mode using its internal system for navigation and maneuvering. And I hope maybe for this to turn on, for this switching of the autonomous control mode, they are passing on these commands and instructions from the mission control to the MS-26 crew who are aboard the spacecraft right now. Also, at a designated time, the mission control located in the Moscow for the Russian segment will send the command for the undocking. And as I said earlier, that the Soyuz spacecraft itself can also initiate the command if it is under full autonomous control.
Your goal to start actions on page 3.5.
Continuing to hear the procedures being read up to the departing Soyuz crew from the Russian flight controllers in Korolyov outside Moscow. In the center of your screen, the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft that will be undocking from the station about 3 hours and 5 minutes from now. On the left is the recently arrived Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft, docked to the Prishal module, also on the Earth-facing side of the station, which arrived on April 8th with NASA's Johnny Kim and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexey Zabritsky.
Where the sound is coming, I don't know.
Так, закрываем люк САБО.
And I'm now closing the SABO hatch.
Принято, закрываем люк САБО. Люк САБО закрыт. Транспарант.
Now at approximately 5:57 p.m. Eastern Day Time, the Soyuz MS spacecraft will undock from the orbiting laboratory's Razvet module to begin its journey back to Earth, heading for a parachute-assisted landing at 9:20 p.m., which corresponds to 6:20 a.m. Kazakhstan time, Sunday, April 20. But for the Eastern time, it's on April 19, and the landing will happen on the steppe of Kazakhstan, southeast of the town of Genghis Khan. I think they pronounce like that, but
that hatch is now closed.
Sorry for my bad pronunciation.
Not illuminated.
Выдаем F1.
Sending T1. Command starting the stopwatch. Ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
Выдали F1.
S1 is sent. Has been sent.
Наблюдаем падение давления в стыковочном узле.
Monitoring the docking port pressure dropping.
СА и БО и ОБ стабильно.
SA, BO, and the station pressure stable.
Once again, just a request for you guys, those who are joining us right now. Please, if you feel that we added some value to your viewing experience, which is our top priority here at AstroYonder, please consider liking the stream. It really helps YouTube's algorithm to bring in more space fans and enthusiasts like you joining us right now, helping this stream to be found out by others. Also consider subscribing to our channel as we work hard to bring you stream packed with stats, details and insights. For that, we would be incredibly grateful for your support.
And the pressure is at,
This is Mission Control Houston. We now have confirmation of the closing of the Soyuz hatch on that side of the docking interface between the MS-26 spacecraft and the Roscosmos module. The Soyuz hatch closing occurring at 1:52 p.m. Central Time, 2:52 p.m. Eastern Time. So both hatches on the docking interface on the Earth-facing side of the station now closed. And the Soyuz crew, the departing crew of Don Pettit of NASA and Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexey Ovchinin and Ivan Vagner will begin the process of donning their Sokol launch and entry suits and conducting leak checks. The upper section of the Soyuz, that's the bulbous section called the orbital module, that also has the docking probe that is attached to the Roscosmos docking port. That is in the process of being depressurized as well. So the three departing crew members who will be coming home this evening for a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan early Sunday morning Kazakhstan time are now aboard their return vehicle, conducting final systems checks and leak checks prior to the undocking of the Soyuz about 3 hours from now at 4:57 p.m. Central Time. That'll wrap up our first broadcast of the day. We will be back on the air at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with undocking coverage as Don Pettit, Alexey Ovchinin, and Ivan Vagner begin the journey home to wrap up a 7-month mission aboard the International Space Station. We'll see you back a little later.
So with that, we will be wrapping up our stream as well. But before that, would like to just to give you some more information so that you won't miss the upcoming stream. At 5:30 p.m., the undocking coverage of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft will be beginning, with the undocking scheduled for 5:57 p.m. Eastern Daytime, and the coverage of the deorbit burn and the landing of the Soyuz spacecraft will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern Daytime, with the landing scheduled for 9:20 p.m. Eastern Daytime. Well, the times are approximate, but they will be close to the mentioned time. Now, the streams for the undocking of the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft from the International Space Station and the landing are all posted on our channel, so be sure to check them out. We would love to have you with us there. So with that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. But before that, once again, want to thank you for wherever you were watching our live coverage. Would like to thank Pop Rebecca, one of our moderators, joining us, and Duncan Stewart, also Marcos, for visiting us. Hope you guys will have a nice day ahead, and expecting you to have with us in the upcoming stream. We really can't do this broadcast without your encouragement, so thank you for your continued support of what we do here at AstroYonder. Be sure to check out our social media handle on X for the latest happening in the space industry and updates on the upcoming launches. I guess the link got posted on the chat. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Really appreciate everyone joining us for today's event. Once again, thanks for watching. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Dipto, sign off for now, and we will see you next time.